so the marketing strategy of calling your audience racist and sexist, this doesn't really work.
Good evening. I have an update for you on the woke scandal at Jaguar after this controversial rebrand.
It's like, you know what they should have done with this ad? They should have just, like, gotten the IP of this ad and then just sold this to Balenciaga. Because if this had been a Balenciaga ad, it would have gone so hard. The problem isn't that the ad is bad, it's just that it's not for a car. Like, it's not. Like, this isn't for a car. You don't do this for a car. It could be the next Concorde? Oh yeah, true. It's like in between Dune and the Hunger Games.
So, if you've forgotten, those are the guys who sell cars. Anyway, their big boss has come out today and given a response to allegations.
Okay, let's see it.
Quite frankly, blown up the brand. So, did he fire the branding team? Did he pledge to throw millions at a new masculine petrol head such as Jeremy Clarkson to launch a brand new campaign? Or, dare I say it, did he apologise? Well, actually, it turns out it's all your faults at home for being too bigoted. Rawdon Glover, the managing director of Jaguar, said the campaign message had been lost in a, quote, blaze of intolerance, adding that the car maker must move away from traditional...
What's the message?
...automotive stereotypes. Glover added that while the overall buzz of the new campaign had been very positive, he was disappointed by the, quote, level of vile hatred and intolerance in the comments regarding the individuals that appeared in the video.
Well, I don't understand the logic for this. So, like, if the meaning for the commercial was to challenge boundaries and to show people that were non-conforming to, like, natural ideals, so you're showing a bunch of people, basically you're saying, hey, we got a bunch of people in here that don't fit in with society, and we're gonna parade them around in this video, and now if you say that you don't like it, you're the one who's wrong. Well, no, wait a minute. You put them there because you think that they don't fit in. So you lined a bunch of ducks up. You're mad that people are shooting them down. You said, hey, get over here. You look like a freak. Come here. Come be in our advertisement. And like, yeah, I want you to be a freak. I want you to look weird in our advertisement because we're trying to do different things. And then the article comes out, the commercial comes out, and then everybody's like, hey, wow, this guy looks like a freak. And then you go, oh, wow, you think he's a freak? Wow, you're a terrible person. Bitch, you put him in there because it was a freak. You put him in there. You're putting these people up. And this is the problem, is they're getting these people harassed and attacked just because they want to put out some am I crazy for this shit? What the fuck's wrong with you, Rawdon Glover? What the fuck are you thinking? Yeah, they're using them. These people are getting farmed out. Like, that woman doesn't deserve the hate. These people don't deserve the hate. They're just average models doing a job. There's nothing wrong with them at all. And so this guy goes and he calls everybody else bigoted after he just lined up, 8 people to be made fun of. I'm going to get you 8 freaks. I'm going to put them on the camera. But if you say they're freaks, it's you that's wrong. It's ridiculous. Holy shit. What the fuck are we doing?
Campaign had been very positive. He was disappointed by the, quote, level of vile hatred and intolerance in the comments regarding the individuals.
What did he say again?
That while the overall buzz of the new campaign had been very positive...
The overall buzz of the campaign has been very positive? Really? Where? Because, like, if I look at this, let me guess, they got comments turned off? Every... Negative. It's all, where is it positive? Who said it was positive? On Blue Sky? Probably you're right. Yeah, the people that work for him that don't want to lose their job. It's great. What are we doing? What the fuck are we doing?
He was disappointed by the, quote, level of vile hatred and intolerance in the comments regarding the individuals that appeared in the video. He went on, If we play in the same way that everybody else does, we'll just get drowned out. So we shouldn't turn up like an auto brand.
Well, you shouldn't turn up like Balenciaga either. That's the only two options that can exist. That's the only thing you can do. You can't think of anything else besides that.
Okay, so there you have it. The rebrand is staying, and you're all a bunch of intolerant orcs if you don't like it.
And I want to keep in mind that the rebrand, in his own words, is because those people are different. And because they're weird. So he basically rounded up a bunch of weirdos and says, don't call them weirdos.
The guy who's been heading up Jaguar's marketing department was right after all.
We're committed to fostering a diverse, inclusive, and unified culture that is representative not only of the people who use our products, but in a society in which we all live. And we're on a transformative journey of our own, driven by a belief in diversity, inclusion, creativity, policy, and most importantly, action.
What action is that? Because the only action I think that they've taken here is that this is a net negative for anybody who has a traditional gender conforming identity or appearance. I feel like it's a universal negative because you're parading these people around to get virtue points. For what? So they can get harassed? Because they're the ones getting harassed. It's not even... Yeah, what is this?
Labour Minister Bill Rammell, political commentator Will Kingston, and senior reporter at Guido Fawkes, Ellie Wheatley. Good evening to you all. Thank you for your company on this very chilly evening. Bill Rammell, they've doubled down, and if you don't like it, you're just a bigoted racist.
Yeah, it's totally weird. When you sent it to me this afternoon, I thought this was a GB News wind-up. And it's got echoes. For my sins, I'm still the only British minister ever to have been to North Korea and negotiated there. And I remember being taken around a goat farm, and it was only when we left we realised we hadn't seen any goats.
What was there?
Just lots of other stuff. And this has got similarities. There's nothing about cars within it.
Yeah.
And, you know, look, I believe that diversity is important, but I saw a clip from, I think it was the chief executive.
Diversity is not important or not important. Diversity will happen naturally because the world is naturally diverse. It's not a positive or a negative thing. It's like gravity. Like it just exists. If you make it the focus, you're going to look like an idiot. It's common sense.
A few months ago, lauding the fact they got 15 equality and diversity teams. They're throwing out cars at 100 grand a pop. You know, it's difficult to be inclusive on that basis.
So how are you being inclusive whenever you're selling luxury cars? You ever think about that? If you really want to be inclusive, why don't you try to find a car that people in India can afford? There's no logic in this at all.
The only thing I'd say in their favour is one measure of advertising is if people are talking about it. And people are.
Yes, Ellie, is that a point? And would this make you go and buy a Jag?
Absolutely not. I mean, there is
nobody going to buy it because of this. I think, honestly, like, the whole idea of all publicity is good publicity, that's just not true. Like, that's something that people say because they've never got bad publicity. That's not true. Like, no, there's tons of things that, like, if everybody says this about you, it's really bad for you.
Thing is bad publicity. I mean, we saw it with Bud Light. You know, they lost nearly 1.8 billion in sales after they advertised the transgender influencer. But, you know, as Elon Musk said, do you sell cars? This advert has nothing to do with cars. And actually, people are fed up with this woke nonsense, and they are just not appealing to their audience. And actually now, the boss has come out and just said, the audience and my consumers are wrong.
I can't believe he's doubled down. Will, if
I'm sure that's going to work out really well.
If you were the managing director of Jaguar Land Rover, what would your response be to this marketing controversy?
Well, I never would have done it because I'd actually be listening to my customers.
Right.
There's a bigger question here, and I think it's a bigger question for the left more broadly, and that is, we know now that these woke campaigns don't work. We've seen the Bud Light experience, and yet they continue to cling on to them. And the question has to be why. And I think it is because this...
It's because they look down on the people that are their audience. That's the real reason. Nobody's going to say this probably, but they look down on the commenters on YouTube. They look down on the people on Twitter, and they think that they are morally above them, and they think that they have the, you know, the high ground in terms of like what the right thinking is. So they just keep pushing this message, and they think that they're doing the right thing. They're morally righteous and superior. Yeah, so that's the reason why they keep doing it. And also, I think that these people are insulated in their own little echo chambers, so they never really hear any criticism. Because, like, if you criticize this in a corporate environment, you can get labeled as, like, you know, a racist or a sexist or something like that. And then you lose your job. So what that does is it makes people that actually would be willing to like give legitimate criticism and feedback to something like this and be like, you know, like this really isn't our target audience. Like I'm sure that they have like audience demographics of like what they're doing. And it's like, what's the, if I think about who is buying a Jaguar, a 55-year-old guy that's probably white that's living in a first world country, right? That's probably the biggest audience like numerically of Jaguar owners, okay? So if you're looking, and it's not even necessarily white, but older, rich, successful men, those are the people buying Jaguars. And do you know what those older, rich, successful men are in most cases? Conservative. They're conservative. So how is it that you think going against your main target audience is going to do anything? Saudi oil barons? Yeah, no, there's a few of them. But I actually heard that over in Saudi Arabia, they're pretty conservative too. Yeah.
Identity politics virus is so ingrained in the modern left. And the modern left is the institutions. It's the corporates, it's politics, it's the media. And as a result, despite the fact that they need to get back to actually engaging with people, they can't let it go. And I think there's lessons for, dare I say it, the Labor Party in the UK. There's lessons for the Democrats. There's lessons across the spectrum.
That's a good point.
Well, they can't let it go because they're completely convinced that they're doing everything right and that they are on a moral crusade to educate the world about their worldview. That's the reason why. Is that they're unwilling to acknowledge that they made any mistake because they don't think that they did. It's the same reason why people like, you know, like Frogan and Denims and all them on Twitch, they're just unwilling to accept any level of accountability at all for making a mistake. They can't even comprehend the idea that other people could think differently than they do. It's just impossible for them.
But you see, I don't think anyone who's a sort of paid-up activist or MP on the left would think that's a good approach. What I've learned over the years is often it is people who aren't that political but think this is the way
they think behave. It's weird. That's the reason why. They just think it's weird. It's super simple.
Even this is the way that things work. And I think they've fundamentally got it wrong.
If only Labor politicians today were of your ilk. Unfortunately, I think that the left has changed. I think the Labor Party, and particularly in America, which I think is worse, I think it has changed.
I think there are tendencies within America, and I think that's an element of why Kamala Harris lost so.
Do you think the Jaguar will lose more money than Concorde because of the stunt? No, I don't think it's really going to affect them that much. Like, things like this don't affect a brand in, like, a binary way. I think that they affect the brand in, like, a very longitudinal way, where, like, now people have a more negative perception of it. So that's going to influence decisions they're going to make 20 years in the future. So, like, because very rarely do you see, like, a lot of stuff about, like, these luxury cars. So people will remember this and they'll be like, oh, Jaguar, oh yeah, that was that weird ad. And then they might just go buy something else. I think that's usually what happens more often than anything. It'll probably just get submerged and disappear in a few months' time. Yeah, but people will still think back on it and remember it. Because I do think that the ad was memorable, right? It's true. I think it was.
On the popular vote, this sort of thing is not appealing to the public anymore. And Jaguar is just behind the curve on this, don't you think?
Yeah, they are. But the other thing which needs to be said, and Bill, you hit on this, it's just a rubbish ad. You know, the whole point of the ad is to say copy nothing, and that is the same type of woke ad that we've seen.
Copy nothing. They copied Concorde. What do you mean? It's not even true.
a million times over the last decade.
Yeah.
And be fearless, but actually they're fearing, upsetting anyone on the left.
The weird bit is, look, they're a very well-financed company. They must have focus groups this and done some research.
But surely that's where they go
Here's the problem. The reason why focus groups and research doesn't work is because there's a chilling effect across all of corporate, I bet probably corporate everywhere in the world, or at least like in Western places, that if you criticize or push back against something like this, your job is at risk. So that's why these companies still do this, is they've created a culture of toxic positivity by silencing anybody who disagrees with them. So, and that worked for a while because these advertisements were seen as at least being neutral, right? Maybe not necessarily good, but, they were neutral. Now, a lot of people aren't going to speak up against this because they don't want to have to go to HR and explain why they don't like black people, right? Why would anybody want to do that? So they're just going to try to keep their job, keep their head down. At the end of the day, right, this is a person with a career, a family, a life. They don't want to, this isn't their fight, right? So mandatory sensitivity training. Yeah, exactly. And so that's really what the problem is. The problem is that they've created a culture where you can't speak out against this at all in, I would say, a corporate environment. And again, I'm speaking as a streamer, so I could be wrong about this in some circumstances, but I don't think that I am, because this is what I've read and observed from other people that I've spoken with. But the fact is that that's why I think it just keeps going through. It's because nobody can push back against this without putting their career at risk.
And even political focus groups. Who are these people? Ellie, maybe you have a better clue about political focus groups. Who do they talk to? Because every time we see governments come up with policies based off focus groups, it makes me think, who the hell are you speaking to?
Yeah.
Because they're so disconnected with, everyday people. Most of the time.
Absolutely. Sometimes it's, here's the answer, what's the question?
But it's a facet of modern business. Nobody
Well,
would
they bring in a focus group of people that are like-minded. That's why they decided to hire that focus group. It's something like Sweet Baby. You're bringing in somebody like that because they agree with you and they're going to share your viewpoints. That's the reason why.
Without testing.
There's the new logo. Look on the screen. I mean, I've had Jaguars before, and for any Jaguar owner, one of the main aspects of it is the fierce logo. It's a British heritage brand. It's racy. You want to hear the roar and the vibration of the engine. Look, there's the. It's a big cat. It's a killer. And then we go to this silly J logo. Talking about America, Ellie, I think you brought up the point. Does the Trump election win herald the end of woke in America? And do you think the UK will be a couple of years behind in following suit?
Well, I think we already are a couple of years behind in following suit. I mean, look at our governor at the moment. I don't know if it is the end. I'm hoping it is, but you don't think it is?
No, because the educational institutions have been so infected. And you look at curriculums, and then you look at universities. Kids are going to go through 15.
Well, they're not going to have to worry about that because honestly, if Trump does what he said he was going to do with the schools, he's just going to defund the schools. Because these people, the reason why they exist is because the government lets them exist. So he can just stop it from happening. You just cut off their money, and then they get rid of those people, and then problem solved. It's super simple.
Years of education with a particular worldview.
UK, I'm not sure. I don't know about UK.
I don't live
there.
Yeah, Linda McMahon.
I know you're.
I think you can massively overanalyze Trump's victory. His is just the latest across the world of the cost of living and incumbency killing you.
Do you think it was all just that?
I think that was the major factor.
No worries about woke or...
Well, that was a contributor, but I think the driving reason, and you've seen it right the way across the advanced world, and it happened in this country with the Conservatives...
Does that mean then, in the way that the Labour have kicked off their tenure, I mean, no growth in the first 3 months, everybody seems to hate the government so far, does that mean...
So let me just look at this. I'll read this to you guys. Somebody says, your inability to get over this is not the normal reaction. How do you reconcile that my inability to get over this is not the normal reaction when all of the people that are in the comments have the same reaction? How do you reconcile that? Because it sure seems like it sure seems like everybody is agreeing with what I'm saying massively, right? I mean, am I crazy? Yeah, I just, because most normal people in your chat think like you, it's a reflection of your character. You didn't listen to what I said. Listen this time, okay? So I said that in the comment section of the Jaguar video. I'm not talking about my comment section or my Twitch chat. Or on Twitter in general. I don't understand that YouTube comment section is the worst. Yeah, it is. All the people I talked to said, yeah, it's weird. But it's probably worked based off of all the internet chatter. So you probably talk to like half a dozen people and you think that your half a dozen people that you talk to is a better sample size than YouTube that has comments that have tens of thousands of upvotes? I mean, I don't understand the logic for this. So like if I talk to 10 people that thought it was weird, like shouldn't you try to look at the largest number of people and see how people are receiving the like I don't know. I think we're wasting time talking about this. But anyway, it's not really a ban. I just don't want to move on. Oh, people moved on and didn't comment, Asmon? People moved on and didn't comment? Yeah, of course some people moved on and didn't comment. Absolutely. But to say that this is, but like, I don't understand like the logic and the reasoning here. So like, people moved on but didn't comment, and somehow all of the people that moved on and didn't comment were positive, but all of the people that commented were negative. Like, I just think that people are using weapons-grade copium here in order to justify something that's unreasonable. I think by any logical evaluation, you could see that this ad didn't do very well. A lot of people were alienated and didn't like it. What are we even talking about? Chatter didn't say that, just said that they just moved on. Well, if you're, like, what do you mean by moving on? So, like, you're not allowed to talk about certain things? So, like, somebody puts out a commercial and somebody else talks about it, and now this is a problem? Like, I'm sorry. Like, it's just ridiculous. It's, again, the appeal to triviality. It's like, yeah, we're going to do something that you don't like, and if you complain about it, you're the one that's being unreasonable. No. They put out an advertisement because they want people to react to it. They're reacting to it, it's negative, and then they say the negative reactions don't matter. Well, they were looking for the reactions.
That they'll be out on there.
It's completely unreasonable.
I still think the fundamentals will come through, but I think there is a worry. Yeah. I was talking to someone on the right, and I was making the argument recently, and I said, you know, we need to get back up to 36, 37% of the vote, and you can see us doing that. The Tories split with Reform makes it very difficult from them. Yep. But he said to me that social media has so atomised society that any party and government will be a one-term government from here on in. And I came away from that conversation thinking, you know, you might have a point.
Yeah, it's probably true. You add in also the decline in party membership, that party loyalty isn't what it used to be. Yeah. I think that's absolutely spot on.
Did you see that new poll today? We're going to...
I think the reason why that is, by the way, actually doesn't have anything to do with the social media. It has to do with the fact that people don't have the right to dignity anymore. People don't own the fruits of their own labor. People don't own the thoughts in their own mind, and people don't own the places that they live in. They live completely inside of a box that society has created for them, and they hate that, and every election cycle, they're looking for the person who's going to take them out of that box. But the fact is that no party is going to take them out of that box, because the box was put there by the people that control the parties. So they're constantly trying to look for a placebo effect for the fact that they're living in a class war that they're not aware of. I think that's really what's happening. So that's why you have people that constantly want to reset the board.
Discuss it in just a tick, actually, but there was a new poll showing that 70% of Britain, or Brits polled, thought or think Britain is now worse off under Keir Starmer and this Labour government.
Can I ask,
which
Bill,
included, by the way, Labour voters.
Have you ever seen in any Western country in modern history this sort of decline in support so quickly after a very successful election? I can't think of any example.
Well, hold on.
They've done a Jaguar.
We actually, don't go to the polls beforehand, we actually got 34% of the vote.
Corbyn?
Yeah. But actually, most of the polls put us at 30%, still 5 or 6% ahead of the Conservatives. Now, I'm not saying that's a stellar performance, but there's a long way to go.
Yeah, that's fair.
With regards to Jaguar, do you think that they'd ever turn it around? I mean, my argument was, if I was a brand manager,
They can't turn it around. They have to go all the way with it, because they can't basically apologize for showing people that are diverse. And so they basically wrote themselves into a corner with this. It's kind of like Bud Light. I mean, Bud Light apologized for that Dylan Mulvaney thing, and then people just got more mad at them. So it's like, once you make a mistake like this, I think that people will just not trust you no matter what.
I would have made a very public display, extravagant display of saying, you're all fired, Alan Sugar style, and made a point of it.
Yeah.
Gone and spent millions on someone like Jeremy Clarkson or somebody, you know, a big petrol head, and relaunched a campaign to win millions over. Do you think they'll have any kind of initiative?
I think they'll have to wait until they see their sale figures slump, right?
Yeah, of course.
Because he's doubled down.
That's what they care about.
And probably will U-turn and go back to the original branding or something similar after they start to see the money's not coming in anymore. They have to.
But it could kill you. Who's the guy who did that speech and said, my product is CRAP, and it killed his business? Do you remember that?
Oh, was it a jeweller?
Yeah. And it completely destroyed the business. Who knows?
Yeah, who was that? I'm being told in my ear. That wasn't my own knowledge. I'm being helped from the voice inside my head. OK, good stuff. We'll wait and see what happens with Jaguar. It's a shame. As I said, you know, a British heritage brand. You think luxury, you think class, you think racy, you think sexy, and now it's all just a bit weird. So, yeah, there we go. Right, who was it? Sorry, Gerald Ratner.
That's it.
There we go.
Well,
but my own
here's
knowledge,
what I think is funny about this whole thing.
The big reveal is we're trying to work out how you can afford a Jaguar.
Who, me? Well, you can get a... I had a nice paper round.
Here's what I think is so fucking weird. I'll link you all the video. I think this is pretty good. I wanted to see more of the guy's speech, but that's okay. So what I find to be really funny about this is the fact that they did this and... They did this and they basically admitted that they brought these people on here because they look weird and they look different. And so you do a commercial, and the commercial selling point is, hey, we have a bunch of weird looking people that aren't normal. And then all the comments are saying, wow, there's just a bunch of weird looking people that aren't normal in the comments. At a certain point, like, how is Jaguar not responsible for this? They basically rounded them up based off of the fact of the thing that they're criticizing other people for acknowledging. Am I crazy here? Like, you round up a bunch of fucking weirdos, and then you put them up there, and you say, oh yeah, here you go. Then people say, wow, those are a bunch of weirdos. And you say, oh, you're bad for saying that. I disagree. I think Jaguar's bad. This is why they're fucking wrong. It's because they took these models or these actors or whatever you want to call them. You took them and you put them in front. You basically looked for people that looked weird or different or diverse or non-conforming. You put them all together intentionally to like, you know, what's the word? To like kind of challenge people. People feel challenged. And now you've basically put these people to get harassed, to mock them. Yes. It's very weird to see this happen. I think Jaguar and a lot of these companies, and this is the thing, right? Is that this is the truth. Jaguar, I think that there's nothing that they can really do about this now, right? I mean, you can't walk this back. You're basically stuck there. And also, it's a bunch of people that are trying to virtue signal by using these other people as effectively target dummies. And it's sad to see happen, man. I miss movies like this. What is this? Oh, let me link you guys the video. I don't know if I did. But yeah, this is a good video. Keem's Mr. Beast clips. Yeah, we'll watch the Mr. Beast clips, okay? Yeah, we will. Did earlier? Yeah, I don't remember. Eventually Jaguar will go bankrupt. I don't know. We'll see what happens.